Welcome to all of you. My name is Chris Holman. I'm an executive at Horse's Mouth, an executive coach at Horse's Mouth, let me say that. So thank you for joining us today in our Beat the Burnout webinar. I'm joined today, or I will be joined very shortly by Jen Goldman. Jen Goldman is the founder of My Virtual COO. Many of you know Jen, I'm sure. I'll introduce Jen properly in 1 second. So in today's fast-paced and always connected world, the stress has become a way of life. Stress isn't always a bad thing. We want some stress in our life because stress can mean the proper levels of alertness, interest, engagement. In fact, for all of us, we want to find whatever that proper level is, the Goldilocks level, if you will. But here's the bad news. And I'm sure I'm not sharing new information with any of you. Many of us have allowed ourselves to become subjected to undue amounts of stress. In fact, the American Psychological Association took a survey very recently, and they discovered that 1/3, 33% of all Americans are subject to what they report as extreme levels of stress. And our goal today then is to help you begin to manage the stress that may be coming at you from many directions. This is an ambitious goal. We're together for just 30 minutes, a short period of time for a really big topic. But we hope today that that today is the first of a series, a dialogue, if you will, that gives you the tools to manage your stress and avoid burnout. One other point before I bring Jen into the conversation here. The thing about stress that I like to observe as an executive coach is that it's really a matter of choice. The choice in creating the world you want and the choice in how you respond to the stress that is coming at you. In other words, you are not the victim. The more that you can take control of the world around you, the more likely you'll find the optimal level of stress that works for you. So with that intro, let me welcome Jen Goldman. Jen, how are you?
I'm good. It's Friday. TGIF,
it is,
right?
TGIF. Jen, you and I are doing this together, so
Yes.
I'll tell a little bit more about myself, but how about if you kick things off with introducing yourself?
Sure. So again, Jen Goldman, been in this position of a business ops expert for 11 plus years now, and before that ran a business in the wealth management space. And I'm just very happy to be here with you, Chris, doing this because it is so prevalent in our industry, for that matter, probably in any business industry. And looking forward to what we're going to cover today and talk about some solutions.
Completely agree, Jen. I'm very honored to be with you as well. So I'm an executive coach with Horse's Mouth. The Horse's Mouth is an adult education company that serves primarily the financial advisory industry. I've been in financial services for 35 years, and I've been a coach for 10 or so. I'm a member of the ICF, the International Coach Federation, and I've probably coached 1,000 plus advisors over the course of my career. So that's enough about me. So let's jump into it, and I'll ask our driver, our man at the board, Barry Beckman, to help us move to slide number 2. Barry.
I just want to say, for those of you that are our participants, just how to get to the slides. The email you got from Chris in Jen that has your PIN. Below it, it says number 3, visual interface. So you want to go into that. Click on that, and there's a bunch of optional information you can enter. It really doesn't matter. Just skip through that, and then once you get in there, you'll see the slide. So the slide up right now says number 1, what is burnout? Okay, Chris and Jen, all yours.
Good. Barry, thank you so much. That's why we have a driver, a person who knows how to drive this thing. Barry, thank you so much. So Jen, here's a definition of burnout that I've seen. Burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. Burnout occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. Jen, you may know this, but burnout was actually a term coined in the 1970s by a gentleman named Herbert Freudenberger, who was a psychologist. He had a practice in Manhattan. he actually hit the wall himself. He was working 20-hour days, a very successful practice, and he hit the wall himself and said, what's happening to me? I can't get out of bed. Real story. He woke up one day and could not get out of bed. He coined the term burnout. He wrote a book called Burnout, The High Cost of something. It's still available on Amazon. Anyway, burnout, and that's why we're here, Jen. We want to help our participants, our members here, to avoid and manage burnout.
And see the signs before you get to that state of not being able to get out of bed, right?
Right. When you wake up one morning, Jen, and you can't get out of bed, that's not a good sign.
No, it's not. Very hard to help yourself at that point, I would say. So.
Yes, and so maybe that's a key thing here. We aren't necessarily talking about avoiding it. Maybe some of us are subject to burnout right now. We're talking about managing it, which has a slightly different nuanced definition possibly. Yeah, and
to see the signs that happen, like an example would be where we've seen owners that are still very much involved in the business, and then all of a sudden one day they might leave for a meeting and they don't return, and then they don't come back the next day and the next day, and then they're calling their team and saying, I'm tired and I need a break. That break feels good. It's what their body and their mind needs, but then it goes into week 2 and 3 and 4, and that's what we have started to see, which is why, again, I'm so glad to do this with you, Chris, because it is happening more and more. We see it a lot in the financial services industry because there's so much change and noise going on as well. So, the idea is to see those signs before you actually walk up the door for a meeting and don't want to come back. It's that old feeling of when you get up in bed in the morning and you dread going into work that day, that, we're hoping to give you some solutions to stay away from even that moment before you literally can't get out of bed. Yep.
You bet. Barry, if we could move to the next slide, please. Signs of burnout. So here are some signs. So one of some opening comments I would say to this as a coach. So I'm here when you look at these signs, the short-tempered, the unsure of priorities each day, the stagnant business growth, the unhappy staff. Some of these are indirect effects, or I'll say knock-on effects. Jen, I'm sure you see some of this. I see this certainly as an executive coach. As you say, more and more these days, or today as much as ever.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is that, we talk about unhappy staff. You have to, as an executive, ask why they're unhappy. There's no doubt that sometimes they have their own issues, and that's something you cannot solve. But the short-temperedness we can see in ourselves. The unsure of priorities, that's a fuzzy brain. That's the inability to really kind of prioritize each day, week, month, year. Stagnant business growth is a metric, right? So these are kind of different ways to take a gauge. But certainly when we're working with the executives, or we mostly work with the operations people, they're asking us, please talk to my executive. Like they don't get it. And it's not that they don't get it, it's that their brain is burnt. Their brain is actually burnt out.
Here's something else to say, and maybe this puts a bit of a rose-colored glass on the whole thing. Burnout actually is a road hazard in life for high achievers, I see. And this is something that seems to happen for those folks who say, I can do everything. They have that sort of personality where they're a high achiever, and they're so passionate about the things that they do. They tend to ignore the fact that they're working really long hours. They're taking on heavy workloads, enormous pressure. So, it's a delicate balance here, right? And I see that all the time.
Yep.
Barry, if we could move to the next slide, please. Yeah, we're jumping right into solutions mode, and here's something I do want to say about this. So, up close, no two brains are alike. There are more neurons in the brain than there are atoms in the universe. And the solutions that we're talking about here, I do think it's important to understand that you'll have your own solution. When you think about what helps me avoid and manage stress, you'll have a particular solution. But what we want to do here is put up this bullet point list of different solutions, either lifestyle changes or work changes that you may think about as you identify the stressors coming out at you and how you might want to manage it. So Jen, when I look down this list, or when you look down this list, what are some of the things, I'm curious, that jump out at you?
Yeah, and first I'll tell you what jumps out at me, but there's no doubt. I mean, remember when we were working on this, I mean, there was 40, 50, 60 things, and the fact is, you know, we're also business owners, and when I look at this, what jumps out at me is what I understand, what I know I could probably work on. So that's why, too, there's a reason why the title says pick one. Yep. You really only need to pick one. You don't need to take on the world. This is just about what I call kaizen, or little baby steps of getting out of burnout. So for me, I'll be honest, lifestyle changes, I chew gum. I take fish oil. I wish I could take my power nap like in a Google Pod, but that doesn't happen. And definitely, you know, I don't have any sort of caffeine or tobacco. I don't have anything that really unnaturally fires me up, thanks to a Johns Hopkins doctor who really talked me off the wall. I think most people, if I said you can't have your coffee, would cry. But, you know, that really helped not get me more revved than my body could withstand. And on the work, you know, what speaks to me, certainly eliminate, automate, and delegate. You know, this idea that get rid of what you don't need to be doing, automate what you can, and give to others, which I know is difficult, and it's a part of the control mechanism we have about that type A personality. But again, you know, that is important to me, and then determine the value of an hour of your time. I do find that almost all the business executives that we work with, and from an operational point, don't understand and don't value their time. They really undervalue it. So I think that's important. Chris, what stands out with you on this list?
Well, I noticed, Jen, you started the left side. You went to lifestyle changes first, then you went to the work changes. You know, where my go-to on the lifestyle side, Jen, is I exercise. I start there first and foremost. Whenever I'm stressed out, I hit the gym more. I ride my bike more. I run more. So for me, I find that works best. On the work changes, you know, the thing that works out best for me, Jen, is to simplify, to take things off my plate, and to remove some of the stimulation that is happening in my brain, and allows me to think more clearly and carefully about what I want to accomplish. So that's, Jen, that's what works for me.
Yeah. And, you know, and when you guys are listening to what we're saying, you have to determine what works for you. I do realize that sometimes when we say, you know, to kind of prioritize, that requires maybe you to take a step, and you in your head, you say back. But no doubt, we all know that when we take breaks, we come back to work and our life in such better condition to deal with things and to do better and to do more. So we just have to remember that sometimes taking that break during the day, taking a deeper breath during the day, actually will have you do more and accomplish more. You have to get into that mindset.
Jen, let's get even more specific. And Barry, if we could move to the next slide, if we could. So Jen, this is you're in your wheelhouse.
Tackle my way. Yeah.
This is what you're really good at. Jen, talk about this, where you're talking about these capacity issues.
So this is actually a way to get to the solutions, but this is not, this chart, and I'll explain it, isn't about identifying the solutions, it's identifying the overload. So what we have the executives and operations people do is we have them put in the names of the people that fill these roles, from, you know, running the operations and wealth management, investment, compliance, sales, marketing, you know, all that, running the finances of the business, HR. When you put the names in the boxes of those that actually do within those roles, it is quite amazing how immediately you can see that you're in too many boxes. And that translates to, I've taken on too much. This is inconceivable that I could be doing this, and I need to shed something. So we find this is a very quick way to identify the overload. And then from there, over time, we always say, revisit this each quarter and see if you've made progress to remove yourself from some of the boxes. And that exercise alone brings up solutions. So we found this to be a really quick, easy way to do that. And again, this is not an org chart. This is just a function, looking at the roles and who fills them, right?
So this, sorry to intrude.
No, go.
This could work. Let's say you had a smaller team of, let's say, 8 or 9 folks. And there are obviously more boxes than 8 or 9. You could use that for smaller teams in that case, right?
You can use this for a one-man firm, one-woman firm. That's the beauty of this. Your name is in everything. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's not in everything. In some cases, you're not paying attention at all to a certain area of the business. Maybe the books and records are done by a bookkeeper. Maybe the IT, you got an hourly IT guy, for example, right? So usually your name is in everything, but this can work for a one-man or woman business all the way up to a huge, large corporation.
By the way, let me add, so at the conclusion of this slide, we're going to do a couple of things. Jen talked about earlier about the solutions, and we actually want to offer the full brainstorm list of, we have 40 different possible solutions to manage stress. So hang around till the end, and we can offer you how to access that. But the other thing, Jen, is we'll make a copy of these slides available to those who are interested. Is that correct? Yep,
absolutely. And this particular will be given afterwards, too. We'll give you a website to go to pull this.
Perfect. We have one more. Jen, let's, Barry, if we could move to slide number 5, that's great. So
another one. Oh, go ahead.
Time block. Oh, we don't need time block, do we, Jen?
No, we don't need it at all. We should just randomly deal with our day. And that's where we feel like, what are we doing today, tomorrow? So this is, I am a tech ops person only as a tool in the toolbox to help people free up time, to sit in front of more customers, to maybe get home at a reasonable hour, whatever it is. This is one of these big solutions that we talk about all the time because it's like $50 a year. And that's an appointment scheduling system. You probably have experienced it with your doctors and dentists and other professionals. I know the banks now install it. And it is the idea that you can actually time block your day to select the times and days when you are open to talk to people on the phone or meet with them. And then you can use that when communicating to let them choose times and days. But the beauty is it keeps you time blocked. So if your best hours in the morning are for detailed work and really shouldn't take calls, that outside person that's scheduling time with you doesn't realize you have not given them any morning times. They feel you're completely accessible, but what you're really doing is you're time blocking your day through the appointment system. So I could go into length and just spend a half an hour on this, but I just want you to know this is one of those things that frees up time blocks your day to then work on the other burnout solutions and really get yourself, out of that mode. So again, another solution.
Again, you have choices. You have choices to help you manage stress, control your day, and avoid burnout. Barry, if we could move to the next slide, and we're taking a break here now. So here, speaking of break, now we come to the wonders. Now the fun part of the webinar. Some of you may not have realized this is what's going to happen. We're going to have a breakout session where we're going to pair the members up here with each other here in a 5-minute breakout session. Don't freak out, and we want you to engage with your learning partners here. And we're going to form a breakout session in a minute through the wonders of technology, and I want you with your partner group to address this question. Simply, what is the number one central stress factor that's happening in your world right now? So no solutions. Don't think about you have to solve things. It's simply a matter of engaging with your partners now in this group and helping you identify more clearly about what's going on with you. Barry, before we form the groups here, are there some technical things that you need to share with the group?
Sure, thanks so much. So we're going to do a little breakouts. I'm going to pull some magical switches. You're going to be paired up with one other person. So please hang on the phone. It's going to be for 5 minutes. And when you hear the bell that says please begin, you'll be with the other person. If you have any technical problems, you can press 5 on your telephone keypad, and that will indicate you need help, and I'll come in and help you. And then we'll give you some cues along the way. So that's what we're going to do. Just explain one more time what they're going to be talking about, and we'll get them going to chat around this for 5 minutes.
Yes, the simple question, just talk about what's going on in your world today from a stress factor standpoint. What's the number one or two central stress factors that are happening in your world today? And discuss with your partners.
Okay, sounds good. And Chris, we're going to put you in with some people so you can have an experience too. So
okay,
here we
good.
go.
I look forward to it.
We'll see you in 5 minutes, everyone.
You are now in a breakout. Please begin.
Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. And Chris and Jen, you're live.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for participating in the breakout, those who did. Jen, I was in a breakout myself. We had a good little discussion with a person who I know, John out of Southern California.
Excellent.
Anyway, Jen, we're back together, and let's move ahead to our final slide if we could. So here we are, Jen. We're at the close of our 30 minutes. We've covered a fair bit in the last 30 minutes or so. What are some
I think we should ask our 2 questions. Do we mind just polling and?
Oh yes.
So we can.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we don't mind, can we do a quick question about, did you like the small group discussion?
Yeah.
I find that interesting, but would love to know if you could. You're going to see a pop-up question and poll. If you could fill that out, that would be great.
Yeah, actually we're going to do it auditorily. So you're going to press 1 for yes, or you're going to press 2 for no on your telephone keypad. And Jen or Chris, say what the question is.
Yep. Did you like the small group discussion?
Yeah. So did you like it? Press 1 if you did, 2 if you didn't. Now I don't know if it's so much did you like the content of what the other person said or what you shared, but what was, on your experience, was it helpful? Yeah. Was it not helpful? So press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Okay, so that's some interesting information.
And then one more question, if we don't mind.
Yeah, before we do, I'll just feed back that most everybody liked it, so that's pretty interesting.
That's great.
Yeah. So now, what's the second question?
Second and last, did you like this topic? 1 for yes and 2 for no.
Yeah. The topic of burnout, right?
Burnout.
Yeah.
And solutions to burnout.
In solutions, yeah. 1 for yes, 2 for no on your telephone keypad. Okay, good. So one of the cool things of this system is we not only can do small group discussions, but we can do polls, and most everybody liked it too. The advantage of the polls is that you can get some real-time engagement, and sometimes we can determine which direction we're going to go in a conversation for when Chris and Jen will work with you.
Yeah. So Chris, do you want to wrap up? Thank you, Barry, for that, doing the polls.
You bet. So here we are at the end. So next steps. So I'll speak for myself. So if you'd like a longer list of solutions, one of the things you can do is you can email directly at chollman@horsesmouth.com. You can also go to my LinkedIn page. I actually have just published earlier this week a list of 40 different possible solutions or topics that both Jen and I brainstormed about with respect to solutions to how you might manage stress. So you can email me directly or go directly to my LinkedIn page and you can find that information. Jen, what would you like to share?
Same thing. If you would like that capacity chart to figure out why you're overloaded, you can email me at info@myvirtualcoo.com, or you can go to me on LinkedIn under Jennifer Goldman. Either one, and you can retrieve it there. So I'm really happy to be doing this, and I think, Chris, this is something we should continue doing as a series. So, any follow-up feedback, you guys can also email us at either of those addresses, and we would be glad for that, to hear feedback.
Great. So just to wrap things up, I was thinking about how one might wrap up this topic. I would just emphasize a couple of things, bullet points that jumped out at me, Jen. Do you mind if I share the 3 or 4 bullet points I'd like to leave with the group?
Yes.
Simplify your life as much as possible. Establish regular routines of sleep, diet, and exercise. Build a strong network of support. And very candidly, both Jen and I would love to be a part of that network of support if you so choose. And finally, take up activities that renew heart, mind, and spirit. My coach-like suggestions, Jen, for those who are managing their stress.
Yeah, and I'll tag on with just be patient with yourself and adopt one solution and stick with it long enough to give it a chance, and you'll be really pleased with the results.
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back to you again. Let's stay connected. Let's stay in touch. Jen, it's an honor to work with you. Let's do this again.
You got it. Happy Friday, everyone.